The Department of Education is getting shut down. We have the 1965 reform, the civil rights reform, is being banned. And there's possibilities of joining Canada. I mean, not Canada.
Britain in the Commonwealth.
Britain in the Commonwealth, which may just be like a fraternity for Great Britain, but we'll talk about it. Operation Exchange is intended for a mature audience. Today will be very political and maybe very triggering to some. So if you want to set this one out, that's fine. We're going to discuss not as experts, but as citizens.
Yeah, as common folks trying to figure it out.
Yeah, man. I myself am kind of concerned about the segregation thing because I'm seeing a lot of people talk about it, but one person I'm not seeing talk about it is Donald Trump. And I'm not saying he hasn't, but like I can't find any footage.
Yeah, I can't find any either. I tried.
Usually when something this controversial happens, it gets in front of a microphone and explains out what's going on. And with the segregation thing, there seems to be a lot of concern, especially with the African American community, understandably, because water fountains, stuff like that. Now
bathrooms, restaurants.
Yeah, and I don't know if we want to start there, but like we're also going to discuss Project 25 or Project 2025.
Yeah,
because Trump was very clear in saying that he didn't know what Project 2025 was. He wasn't a supporter.
And he wasn't running on anything that he was getting from that.
Yeah. But, if you find the checklist online, it looks like he's going right down the list. Like Department of Education getting shut down, all this stuff. So, like, we're going to talk about some of our opinions about the matter just as regular old people because we're not experts. And if any expert wants to come on to the show and discuss this with us, or if you're more educated on the matter, it doesn't matter if you're Democratic or Republican. We would love to have you on. Yeah, and if you're just an opinionated person that wants to come on and discuss it further, that's fine too. All voices matter in this. So where do you want to start off?
Well, let's start out with the Commonwealth stuff.
Okay.
There's rumors that the King of England is going to invite the U.S. into the Commonwealth as an associate member.
That's King Henry the 11th.
You know more than me.
Is that him? Is that his name?
I think it's King. Is it not King Edward? I don't know. I don't know who's
Dude,
king right now.
I don't have a clue who's king.
There was only one my whole life until now, and it was a queen. Queen Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
So, like, I haven't kept up with the royal family.
Long live the queen.
But there's rumors that he would be inviting the U.S. On Trump's second state visit, which is coming up. And there's rumors or like some quoted words that Trump was like, I'm all for it. Let's go.
Didn't he say he would consider it if the offer was good enough or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm wondering if Trump, just being Trump, is like one, if he's hoping for an offer from Great Britain for control over Canada or Greenland or something like that. But like, I can see England's point of wanting to invite America into it because Trump wouldn't be able to bully these people into tariffs and stuff. And listen, man, my opinions on the tariffs, I think Canada I learned this when Canada ripped all the Jack Daniels off the shelf. Jack Daniels responded, and it was kind of crazy. But if there is a 25% tariff on Jack Daniels and other alcohols to be exported by the USA and to come into Canada, like be imported by Canada, there's a 250% tariff for Americans like American stores to be able to sell Canadian alcohol. I think 25% is fair, but they threw a fit about it. So I think, England inviting us into this little fraternity, that's pretty much what it is. It's like, it doesn't really give anybody any extra powers, but we have to treat everybody else in that fraternity fairly or whatever.
Yeah, but at the same time they can't uh have any enforcement to tell you, hey, you gotta have this percent of tariffs and that's as high as you can go, because the Commonwealth doesn't have any rights to tell you what laws or what policies you have to go by. It's just supposed to be like a kind of like you said, a little fraternity, but an association where they can all come together, the leaders of these countries that are in it, and try to come to a common ground and educate one another on different culture views. And
I seen there was different levels. Like you had thriving communities or thriving countries, like, you know, and then you had like countries that are doing okay, and then struggling countries, and those struggling countries could receive advice from those thriving countries and
aid.
Yeah, and aid and all that stuff. I don't know. I guess it's the most or the least concerning thing that we're dealing with at the moment, but it is, I guess, news.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, like myself, until I looked up to see what this joining the Commonwealth actually meant. I've seen a lot of posts about we fought to get away from them. Why would we want to join them again? And it's not to the extent that I think the average person is thinking is going on. Like if Trump agrees to be a member of the Commonwealth, it's not giving England rulership over the U.S. anymore. It doesn't mess with our sovereignty, which I think there was a misconception there.
And really, man, I remember looking into this a couple of years ago, and I'm not sure how much fact I was finding, but I was I remember seeing some things flying around the internet about the Corporation of the United States of America flag. That's the one with the yellow tassels. And when you start digging into that, you find out that according to the information you'll find about that U.S. corporation, is like the United States is more of a corporation, like a business or whatever, and it's already controlled by the crown.
Yeah.
You know, like
what, 20-something years after we gained our independence, we wound up having to get back in bed with them. It was pretty much
20 or 50 or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I think it was however many years it was like the same year that the NRA started up, the National Rifle Association. So I don't remember what year that was, but it was in the 1800s sometime. But yeah, man, I'm not entirely sure, you know, what all this entails, but I'm not very concerned about the outcome.
Yeah, because they're not going to be able to do anything that controls us, and Trump's not going to be able to do anything that's controlling any of these other countries. It's literally just a chat session, and they have Commonwealth games that we could be a part of.
Right.
Well,
I think Great Britain has, you know, like more to gain from us joining, just because
they think it may help with
relationships
tension.
and tension. Yeah. Then Trump has to gain, or America has to gain. So it'll be interesting to watch it play out, but I'm not sure what to expect with that. But the segregation thing, man, what's going on with that? Like, exactly. This is a 1965's Civil Rights Reform Act. So it doesn't deplete the 1964 Civil Rights Reform.
No, those laws are still in place and have to be followed. That doesn't mess with those.
Right, but the 1965 reforms were like an added layer of protection
on federal contracts.
Yeah, mostly on federal contracts. So like we're not going back to
Jim Crow.
There's no Jim Crow. So there's no separation of like restaurants and, you know, and like.
No, it's the way it's worded is just on like any contracts that the government does or subcontractors. They're not required to provide different facilities. Now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me why he would do that, but there's some ideas of why, and it goes back to the DEI stuff where everything needs to be merit based. And
gender identity was actually added to that at some point. Mm-hmm. We're pretty sure that gender identity wasn't brought up by Lyndon Baines Johnson.
No.
In 1965. So gender identity was probably added to that 1965 reform thing. And we know that Trump wants to go back to two genders.
And I do know Obama did something with this one because I've seen that in the articles. Like it's something that during the Obama administration they added to or made changes to, and I'm guessing that's probably when sexual identity gender identity or sexual orientation, gender identity, and all that was added. Because most of the civil rights laws were for disabilities, race, religion, those larger categories that affect everyone.
Well, I mean, if this keeps litter boxes out of bathrooms at high schools,
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. But at the same time, like if there's anything more nefarious, like really, honestly, dude, we don't know.
No,
Like we have to assume that the extent will be pushed all the way to its limitations, like until we hear from the man that
and we're not hearing anything.
So I would like to hear from the man. Like I set this election out so I can be non-biased. That's why I set it out. I set it out so I could be non-biased. One, not really a huge fan of either one of them. And now I'm 90% okay with everything that's been going on with the government since he's gotten office. At least he's doing something, man. You had The Walking Dead versus Baby Boss, as far as I'm concerned. Like the Democratic Party failed to provide anybody to vote for, and they tried to gaslight us into believing that she was the best candidate. And
that they did not vote on and just put her there.
Yeah. And you could even like backtrack and find where the Democratic Party was like shit talking Kamala Harris, and then 9 weeks later, those same individuals were pushing her.
She's their savior.
Yeah, so it's I feel like the Democratic Party dropped the ball on providing a candidate, and if they don't hurry the fuck up, they're going to drop the ball again when JD Vance can scoop in now for 2028. Now I think Trump is just a little aggressive, and how he moves, and that's very attractive to some people. To me, I kind of like to see things move a little slower, like handle one thing at a time.
And I personally think he may be doing that because right now he has control.
Yeah, he's got about 2 years.
He's got that 2-year mark before seats can change. And so he's going and pushing as much as he can push in the start of this because he does have control of the House. He does have control of the Senate. So it's not so many battles to get stuff done right now that they're wanting to get done in the Republican Party.
Okay, that's fair enough, but get in front of a camera, or get on the Joe Rogan podcast or Theo Vaughn, because those are very good, facets for it. Or talk to Matt Walsh or Tim Pool or somebody, and let us know what the fuck's going on.
Or get on X, which he's famous for doing. At least put out a tweet, man, something.
Something, man. But I would, to get the message out there to the masses as to what's going on exactly with the segregation reform.
Yeah, because any other time when people are throwing stuff out, it'd be like fake news. They're bull crap. They're accusing me of stuff that I'm not doing. We're not hearing anything, which is odd.
That's the scary part. And also I guess the scary part is like the fact that he stood up in front of all of us and told us that he was not a fan of Project 2025. And
was not affiliated.
You've got a list over here
on
your phone of things that were included in Project 2025.
There's a tracker called Project 2025 Tracker that you can look up online, and there's 301 total objectives of Project 2025. So far, he has completed 104 of them.
Are you fucking serious?
And he's got 45 in progress.
Okay. All right. Can we run over the main ones?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not, I wouldn't want you to list over,
no, but like USAID or USAID, there were 6 objectives for it. All 6 of those have been completed. They were prioritize funding for faith-based organizations, cut budget of USAID, rescind USAID policies that address climate change and help countries transition away from fossil fuels.
All right, pause.
Okay.
So I was talking to a Republican friend of mine earlier about the Project 2025 stuff, and he's like, I don't think it's real. Like, what we're referring to was in a book, and we can get the title of that book. You can
still buy the book.
You can buy the book on Amazon. Yeah, and JD Vance was part of it, and to some degree. He talks about his role in it when he was on Theo Vaughn. And I'm sure other facets as well. Like, you could probably find him talking about Project 2025 and other places. And he even said, like, I didn't have anything to do with that list. But and he even said, like, even though I had something to do with the book, I don't have anything to do with the list. And Trump don't support that list. But like they get in and they start hammering down on this list.
Prohibit USAID from funding sexual reproductive health and reproductive rights and gender equality programs. And cut international disaster assistance funding for programs in Yemen, Syria, and Afghanistan. And eliminate child diversity officer at USAID, remove DEI requirements, eliminate funding for partners that promote discriminatory DEI practice.
So this is all still in USAID.
Yes, that's all the objectives that were in Project 2025 under USAID, and they've all been completed.
Okay,
they've been done. So he's at 100% on that one. Now the shutting down of the Department of Education,
that was in there too.
Yep. That's the next big one, and it is at 89% complete. Out of 9 objectives, 89% of them are completed.
Let's go over those objectives.
Okay. So we've got withdraw funding from the United Nations Relief and Work Agency, because that's under Department of State, so it's going under there. Withdraw from the United Nations Human Rights Council.
We've done that?
That's what it says.
Okay.
Oh, I'm under Department of State. Sorry. That's 89%, not Department of Education.
Okay.
But we're under Department of State.
We'll go back to the Department of Education.
Okay.
That's what we were.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we've already done that stuff in the Department of State.
Yeah.
Like just a little bit of communication. That's my thing, man. That's the message I want to promote here, is that I like transparency. I like transparency a hell of a lot more than I like politicians. We all like Trump more than we like politicians, and that's why we like Trump in the first place. Don't turn into a fucking politician, dude, because you're like,
we want to. We don't, like you've been blunt this whole time.
There's nothing wrong with blunt. Let us have it at face value, so we know exactly what's going on. But like we don't need another politician. We don't need anybody in Washington, D.C. that wasn't a politician, that won his election off of not being a politician, going in there and turning into a politician and not letting the public know what's up his sleeves.
Yeah, because everything's, they've even got a website for like transparency and stuff. Well, like talk about it. Talk about why you're doing what you're doing, because that's what's causing the confusion and the chaos at this point.
We don't know. Like if we don't know, and there's people out there that I've talked to, like we ran into some friends yesterday that I would consider to be politically intelligent, and we were talking to them about this Great Britain stuff and the Department of Education stuff. And like they knew about the Department of Education. They didn't know anything about the Great Britain stuff, and they didn't know anything about the segregation stuff either. So
right, it come as a surprise to them.
If we know and other people don't know, then we got to assume that there's a great amount of people out there that would
are just
like
going to hear rumors too,
because we're not ahead of the curve.
No,
and I haven't heard Tim Pool talk about it either, and he usually keeps up with a lot of stuff. So it might not even be that big of a deal. This might be some paranoia on my part, but like whenever I see this,
it's kind of all over our social media feeds right now. That's how we found out about it. Yeah,
there's a lot of people concerned about it. A lot of minorities concerned about it, and so like we definitely need to get in front of it and let them know that they don't have anything to worry about. Like one way or the other. Because if it's not like, don't think that the Republican Party as a mass, as a whole, will just sit back and take this to face. Like we're not going to.
Right.
Like you will no longer, like your popularity will go down tremendously. We will get your ass impeached. Like if we have to, but like if we feel like anything nefarious is going on, so we got to have some transparency. We got to have some communication, and that's really all we have to have. You just let us know what's going on. But go ahead, Department of Education.
It's 50% complete. There's 23 objectives, so he's completed 50% of those.
Let's hear them.
Break up the Department of Education.
That's complete.
Mm-hmm. Cease investigating Title VI disparate impact cases. Roll back student loan forgiveness and income-driven repayment plans. Rescind Biden-era Title IV rules that, or is that Title IX? That's Title IX. Sorry, Title IX rules.
Teacher.
Yeah, I know. I looked. I was B up here. It was next down here.
It's okay. It's okay.
Rules that strengthen the prosecution of sexual assault and discrimination claims. Now, I don't know what's going on there.
That's some sort of LGBTQIA. That's what it says.
LGBTQIA. Yeah. Okay.
So it's got something to do with that.
All right. Ban critical race theory and gender ideology from public school curriculum. Again, LGBTQIA and equality. ban critical race theory in schools that receive federal funding.
I didn't have critical race theory, so I don't know what's going on. But whatever kind of education I received, like I don't consider myself a racist. Go ahead.
Right. Expand you don't consider yourself needing to feel ashamed to be who you are either.
Hell no, I don't.
So, and that's a big part of it. It's like
I'm a cis white male, and I'm not apologizing to anybody for it.
Right. But that's kind of where that's leading all these. I'm ashamed to be white. I'm sorry for what we did.
No,
we didn't do.
I didn't do shit.
Right.
I ain't done a goddamn thing to nobody.
Right. Maybe be an asshole.
Yeah, I can do that, but that doesn't have anything to do with color, and I'm not discriminatory.
No. He can just be an asshole to anybody.
I will judge folks by the character.
Yeah. Rescind Biden era guidance that added non-binary option in civil rights data collected from schools.
Okay.
Abandon the redefinition of sex to sexual orientation and gender identity to Title IX. So, and then one more that's completed. Issue rules and guidance that sex is properly understood as a fixed biological fact. So those are all the ones that he has completed from Project 2025.
Okay, and I heard some people talk about Department of Education. If it doesn't exist, then the kids that are on free lunches are going to go hungry and this and that. And that's been transferred. Those funds.
Or will be transferred. Yeah. Like, it's not going to stop.
Right. No. It won't even stop on a federal level because they're going to take the funds and it's going to be handed into the United States Treasury. And the United States Treasury will then dispense the money out throughout the states. You're just going to have one less department.
And the same goes for the special education laws as well and funding.
Yeah.
Because there's laws for that. There's IDEA, which is Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. That is a law.
Yeah.
It's not changing. That law's still there. And the Americans Disability Act, ADA, which is also still in effect. So those are laws. That's not a department. Those can't be just taken away. Those have to go through Congress.
Do you have any personal feelings or any fears about this because you are a teacher? And
I do feel like a lot of money was wasted at the bureaucracy level. I feel like a whole lot of money. If they're doing away with all those pencil pushers and their salaries, money can actually make it to the schools where they're needed instead of just like making some pockets fatter up there.
Yeah, I'm going to throw an analogy out there, and it's probably not a good analogy, but like just do hang with me if you can. But if you can go to Mississippi where they do a lot of logging, and you need let's say you need a bunch of logs, a bunch of pine logs to build a fence or something like that. If you can go straight to the source, to the forestry, and buy that stuff from the company that's cutting it down, instead of like when they get they chop those logs down, they put them on a truck. It goes to the buyer. That buyer treats the wood, maybe sells it to somebody else. 5 or 6 people are in line to receive that stuff. By the time it gets to you as a treated piece of lumber, and when you get it straight from the source, it won't be treated. So you have to treat it yourself, or you have to figure out somebody to hire to do that. But what I'm saying is like the price of you'll be able to get a lot more wood straight from the source than you will
after you paid 4 or 5 other people to have their hands on it and doing something with it before you get it.
Exactly. So like I'm all about cutting out middlemen when we can and it makes sense. Now, if those middlemen are needed, like if they're needed, then that's fine. And it would appear that at some point somebody thought they were needed, but was that just a favor that we did for some sort of bureaucrat? Just to start up an agency to give them a job that paid multiple millions of dollars a year.
Well, I don't think it was that. I think it was agenda, which is why it's still a problem. The federal Department of Education. Most of the funding for schools comes from the state and local level. A vast majority of it.
That's why high school football exists, y'all.
Other than special education, a lot of funding for special education comes from the federal level. But your general ed classes, teachers, all of it, like, for instance, right now, there was a new Freedom Education Act that was passed in Tennessee. And schools weren't required to partake in it. But if they did, their teachers, their K-8 teachers, get an additional $2,000 bonus. That's because that's being offered by the state. You know who's not getting that bonus?
Who?
The special education teachers, because they are not funded by the state for the most part. So if the only thing that's really coming down from the federal government to these school systems is grants that they tell you what you've got to spend the money on, what you've got to push, what's got to be taught, how it's got to be taught, that's pushing an agenda. It's here, we'll give you this money, but you're going to do what we say.
You're going to teach our curriculum. The scores got to be at a certain point. I mean, like, you should always like try to, as a school
strive
system,
for success. Yeah. But they're agenda pushing.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing.
Okay.
So I don't personally feel like it can be that bad. Some taxes may raise, like local taxes, to continue.
It shouldn't
because they're already
we're
doing
already
it.
taking that money and sending it in, and then they're dispersing it into the Department of Education, and the Department of Education is just turning around and sending a portion of it back to the state.
Right. Yeah.
So like it's like it, and then then we have to pay those people out of that money too.
But I personally wouldn't even be against a little bit higher of taxes, like a little bit higher.
Don't tell them that.
I'm just saying. Like, if it meant we can actually educate our kids where they can function with basic freaking math and shit.
That shouldn't be a need, honestly, because
it shouldn't.
Like, the thing is like we're already taxed to the T. I mean, we're taxed on our salary. Then when we go buy shit, we're taxed. When we die, we have to pay taxes. This is what we fought to get away from. If they're moving us back into a direction to where we're more organically American than we have been
in years,
in centuries, then I'm all about it. I'm not about paying another damn dime for taxes. You know, if they're cutting taxes off of overtime
and tips.
Yeah, tips. That's
and
great.
Something else.
This is a great thing.
Social Security. That was it.
Anytime that we can get taxes, like, of course, like taxes have to exist, I suppose, for roads and shit like that.
But you should be able to do that off property taxes. There shouldn't be an income tax and sales tax and this tax. Like, so much of our stuff is double and triple and quadruple taxed.
Yeah, and there's small companies out there. I mean, like, there's big companies out there that repair roads and build roads and highways and bridges and shit like that. Like, here like locally, we got Ford Construction, but there's smaller companies out there that did the same damn thing. So, like, I'm pretty sure if you can make the private sector a little bit more competitive, like, instead of hiring just straight up government workers to do everything. And there's nothing wrong with government workers, but like, just imagine what happened to the penal system.
Yeah. Whenever it become a government
private
or privatized. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, but still though, I mean, like, it did become privatized, but like, it used to be, it's a lot more profitable now than it used to be, which is not a good thing because it's incentive to
keep putting people in there.
Yeah, man. And like keeping them in there longer. And it's, which kind of goes like against what I'm saying about privatizing construction companies. But at the same time, like that's not having a negative effect on anybody's life.
Right.
That's just jobs. But again, we have to think about the penal system as being, one of those government, non-GO, what do they call it? NGO? Like not like it's privatized, but it's like it's still funded with NGO stuff. Like the government, like I'm sure USAID or probably not USAID.
Somebody's giving them the money.
$90,000 per year.
Yeah.
To keep each inmate alive.
And whether it's coming from the state that's giving them money for it, or the federal, or a combination of both, that they found a loophole to just drain money from the government to pay to have these prisons here, and they're getting rich as hell off of it.
Yeah. Now, this is something I can get behind, the Department of Education thing. Ronald Reagan wanted to do it. Don't know why he couldn't. He might not have had the support, might not have had the Congress or the judges or whatever.
And it hasn't been a department for all that long.
No, Jimmy Carter put it in place.
So it's not like they weren't able to do it. And actually, the statistics show that test scores and the education level of students since the development of the Department of Education has actually declined year after year.
That's exactly right. I mean, like, and those stats are online. So like the education has become the quality of education has become a problem. Yeah, it's declined since. Yeah, so no reason in repeating what you just said, but yeah, that's exactly right. So we can go back to better. We were doing it for hundreds of years, literally a couple hundred years.
And I mean, it's literally pitiful when you go in a store and the register the wrong buttons get pushed on it, and they don't see the change that they've got to give back.
Oh my God.
And they can't do it. It's basic math. Like, they can't do it.
Have I ever told you about the Arby's story? I mean, I know I've told you, Courtney, but have I told it on the podcast before?
I don't know if you have.
Man, just in case if this is the first episode you're listening to, I'll run through this really quick. But like, I was at Arby's. My total was like $11.70. I gave the lady $11, and then I realized I didn't have the 70-something cents, and all I had was a 20. So, I gave her the 20, and then she gave me my money back. And then she gave me, like, I don't know, I think I wound up paying like $2 for the meal or something like that. And so I told her, I was like, the math's not right there. You need to get your manager. I mean, like, well, you know,
Barcy just like, you gave me too much money. She's like,
no, that's right.
Let me say, no, that's right. Yeah.
She went and got the manager. I explained to the manager exactly what happened. I said, I thought I had 70-something cents. I didn't. So I also didn't have an extra $1. So like, I had to like break out a 20 to pay for the meal. So she gave me my money back. I gave her the 20. It was, I know it sounds confusing, but it really wasn't, you know, like, and so like,
your total was $9 and something.
Yeah.
For the meal. And you gave her the 20, and she gives you all the
$18 back or something like that. And the manager's like, no, that math's right. I said, okay. I said, well, you know, I'm in here a lot. So, you know,
y'all
if you
figure it out.
Y'all change your mind, let me know. I'll give you your money back. But like, you know, somebody was short on that drawer that night. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't come without consequences at most workplaces. And the manager involved couldn't figure it out either. You know, it wasn't that complicated of a procedure. It was just, you know, I don't remember all the details. I just remember that I thought I had exact change. I didn't. I gave her a bigger bill, and it threw a wrench in the look. And you hear stories all the time about people not accepting $2 bills.
Yeah.
They don't know if they're real or not.
And then like, just last week before, something like that, seen a lady on TikTok. She was like, y'all, am I just living in a different reality or what? But her total was something in 90-something cents, 93 cents, whatever the total, 93 cents. So she gave 7 cents extra
to get a solid $1
a solid $1 back.
And the lady accused her of money laundering.
You're trying to trick me. This sounds like a scam. And she's like, so they go back and forth for a few minutes, and she's like, whatever, she's like, I just didn't want all that no, that's what it was. She was going to get a bunch of change back. It was like 7 cents, and then she gave the 90-something to get some change out of her pocket and to get a whole $1. And so after the transaction's done, she gets all this change. She adds her few cents to it, and she hands back to the cashier. She's like, now can I have $1?
Yeah, she's trying to exchange $1 worth of coins for
the $1 bill that she was trying to get originally.
And the cashier accused her of money laundering.
Yeah,
or you know, some sort of criminal activity.
I was going to call the cops on her. Like, people can't do basic math anymore.
And so if we can get back to the point where we can count again, you know, like do basic math, and
multiplication backs, like anything simple.
It's sad, man. It's sad. And like, I'm not going to put myself, I would assume that I'm above average when it comes to an IQ, but only because I see comments, you know, like, and there's a lot of them now, you know, like, and, you know, because of that accidental viral video, you know, like, you know, I get on there and I'm having to explain myself hundreds of times a day, you know, like, it's just satire.
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
It says it.
It says it in the title, you know, and I mean, like, to me, it wasn't a good joke. It wasn't designed to be a good joke. It wasn't designed to go viral. I don't know what happened. I didn't use any of the proper hashtags to go viral. So like, I figure that anybody that clicks on that thing and looks at it and thinks about it for a few seconds is going to get it. You know, like, it's not a good joke. It's not a blatant joke. It's not like right in your face or anything, but like,
it's not a catch line at the end. It's just a picture's there already.
Yeah. And tens of thousands of comments, or at least 10,000 comments or whatever, over 10,000 comments. Like, and I'm having to, hey man, this is just a joke. Like, and people, as bad as they are at math, like I'm assuming that they're also bad at critical thinking.
Yeah, just being able to do just basic function anymore.
They say higher IQ people or turn out to be Democrat.
Higher educated ones for sure.
Yeah, most of the time. Like it's weird. You can pull up an IQ map, and the average IQ of California is 94. Like the only state that's lower, I believe, is Mississippi. But like every other, like I think the Tennessee's like 99.7 or some shit like that. It's like, well, there's that. So how about that Department of the State?
Yeah. So there's several here. So they're 89% complete of 9 objectives. Withdraw funding for United Nations Relief and Work Agency. Withdraw from the United Nations Human Rights Council. Prohibit the flying of divisive symbols such as the rainbow flag or the Black Lives Matter flag at U.S. embassies. Freeze allocation of resources, foreign aid disbursements, and hiring and recruiting decisions. Reinstate the Mexico City policy banning aid to groups that even communicate about abortion services.
Well, that's fucking weird. What's up with that?
I don't know. It just says reproductive health and aid.
When my stance on abortion is like I would never take advantage of it. So I wouldn't say I'm a complete supporter, but I'm a supporter of not losing rights. Once we have a right in place, I like to see it stay there. Like the more rights that we have, like, you got some people out there that won't ever fire a gun, but they don't want to see the Second Amendment abolished either because they like to have more rights. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of my stance on that. But like I don't understand that one completely. So I'll stay out of it.
Well, and as far as that goes, like sometimes the rights that are put in place aren't always real clear, and stuff gets taken advantage of because of that.
Anytime there's a right, there's going to be people that take advantage of it. Yeah, absolutely. And abortion's it's no exception. But the thing is like I've already heard stories about some of the states like Missouri and Louisiana and stuff like that have completely banned abortion. And like I may be wrong about those 2 states. I don't know. I think Missouri definitely is one of them. But like, the mother's going to die.
Okay. I know where you're going. Go ahead.
And, like it's still illegal for them to cross state lines in order to be able to get abortion somewhere else because they're a citizen of Missouri. And like when they come back in, they threaten to arrest them and stuff like that.
Okay. So I just got done watching a thing on this the other day. And say abortion is illegal in the state, like you're saying. And there's a medical complication going on that has the mother at risk. At that point, it is no longer considered an abortion. They can do a C-section, emergency C-section, take that baby out of the mother, save the mother's life. Now, at that point, that is not an abortion. That is a birth. And just like when I had to have mine for an emergency, nothing guaranteed that child was going to make it. But it did. It's no longer considered an abortion. It is a cesarean section at that point.
Okay, but I wonder if the terminology has been changed, because if you ask my mom for the birth certificates of her 5 fetals that didn't survive, my mom was pregnant 5 times before,
they were removing
4 times,
a carcass
4 times before me, and they were pretty much just removing a carcass by C-section.
Mm-hmm.
But
it shows aborted.
It shows aborted.
I gotcha.
So like if that terminology hasn't been changed for insurance reasons or whatever, then I would imagine it would be a complex situation. And my mom was kind of heartbroken about that stuff showing up on those certificates, because she was like, I wanted that baby.
Right.
But they. On state on file, I've had 4 abortions, and one of them was a set of twins. So
right, so that would have been 5.
Yeah, and that's not that wasn't her
and
intention.
That was brought up in whatever I was watching the other day too. Was like somebody said, "But what if the baby's already dead?" And there They were like, that's not an abortion. That's not a life. That's the removal of a carcass.
Yeah.
And so they were explaining it where it's like, it's not that medical terminology at that point. Then you've got the cesarean section, you've got the removal, which is a lot like a D&C after a miscarriage. Like,
what does D&C stand for?
Where they go in and clean out everything when you have a miscarriage, and it gets any debris left in there from where there was a fetus. So I think most of the states that are just like, we're not promoting abortion at all, still have these other medical procedures that are completely still legal and can be used.
Most of them, but some of them seem to be taking advantage of it, and they're running with it. And like it's kind of like what you said just a few seconds ago.
Yeah,
you were like, when something's put in place that people are going to take advantage of it, and it seems like these states have taken full. Like some states have taken full advantage of the fact.
I think Louisiana was one of them that was real tough.
I think Missouri is too, and the only reason I think that is because you can't drive 10 miles down that road, down I-55 going through Missouri without seeing a sign about anti-abortion. But and that might be why I'm thinking that.
It may be just a Bible Belt thing.
But yeah, I'm sure it is. But like, I kind of agree with Bill Burr about the whole abortion thing. Like, it's killing a kid. But now do we care if we're killing a kid? Like type thing. But like, yeah. Anyway.
And then you get into the whole, if they have a child that they don't want, the adoption system is screwed. It doesn't work. The foster care system is screwed. It is a money.
There's a lot of arguments we could definitely make. And like I said, it could be an extremely long conversation. And hey, if anybody out there is well-versed in abortion, I wouldn't mind doing an entire episode about it. So like you want to come on, just send us an email at operationexchangepod. opexchangepod@gmail.com.
Yeah. Suspend all visas to people from countries that do not accept the return of immigrants ordered deported. So that's kind of like when Mexico was trying to refuse to take immigrants back when they were deported. He was going to suspend all the visas of all the
even the good ones, like
like even the ones that were here in the embassies and crap from there. Like, wow. Get out, we're done. Indefinitely curtail USRAP refugee admissions. So not accepting any more refugees, it doesn't sound like.
Well, that's probably, go ahead.
Withdraw funding for the World Health Organization. Don't really blame them.
0 for 2.
Right. Those are all completed. Hasn't started on the withdrawal from the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. But that's the only one that has not been started on or completed. And
by the way, about those free lunches from those kids, and I know that's a big thing, man, free lunches. The U.S. Department of Education has never funded a free lunch in their entire existence. That's always been the agricultural industrial complex.
Yep, it comes from the Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, like so.
And it all falls under Title I, which the Department of Education may have had some stuff to do with Title I, but not the food part of it. Right,
and like that could affect the schools that our kids go to. Everybody gets a free lunch, right? I see. That's not how it was when we were in school.
No, you had reduced lunches, you had free lunch, and then you had you're paying for your crap.
Yeah, I had to pay for my shit every day if I got it. Okay.
Then, all right. So I'm just going to kind of run through some percentages of the departments and highlights real quick.
If you want to check it out, Courtney will let you know the websites you can check it all out on.
Yeah, so you've got USAGM, which is U.S. Agency for Global Media, 67% of the 3 objectives completed. Department of Defense had 13 objectives, 62% of those are complete. Department of Justice had 18 objectives, and 61% of those are complete. The EPA, 58% are complete.
EPA can't, like when Courtney takes her little stinky poops, and the EPA's out there, protesting because of all the methane that's coming out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hopefully they'll cut that funding out. So like they quit showing up to our house.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Then personnel. That's all it says. Let's look at some of these objectives. Just
Okay.
see what's under personnel. Because it's 58% complete. There's 6 objectives. Rescind Biden's Executive Order 14003, which revoked Trump's Schedule F order and made it easier to discipline federal employees. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Institute a hiring freeze. Reschedule thousands of federal civil service workers, making it easier to fire career civil servants.
And then other stuff hasn't been started
And then
yet,
these
right?
haven't been started yet, right?
I saw where I don't remember who I was listening to talk about it, but like I'm sure you could find it. But where Senate and the House, that like the representatives and the Senate and the Congress, members of Congress, shit like that are gonna have to start taking drug tests. I think that's fucking yes.
Yeah, because
Put it on.
everybody else to get their check has to go through them.
I just hope John Kennedy from Louisiana.
It's clean.
I hope he's clean because he's the one that'll keep you on that channel.
Yeah.
You know, if you're scrolling through, just checking things out. That dude is.
He's the only politician I've ever seen with a sense of humor, man.
He don't mind saying anything.
No.
Like, I mean, he will literally say anything. Literally, there goes that word.
Literally.
It's like, I came out with a TikTok video and I said, rarely does an adverb ever make you actually sound smarter. There's 2 adverbs there.
Uh-huh.
Nobody caught it. No.
Most all your LYs are adverbs.
Yep. Adverbally, most LY words are adverbs.
Okay. Commodity Futures Trading Commission. There's 1 objective, 50% complete. I don't understand how you have 1 objective, and it's okay. So it's in progress.
It's in progress.
I was like, how does that
Relax,
work?
y'all. We're working on it. We don't even
know what it is. It's reduced regulations on cryptocurrencies.
What the man? Okay, all right. I don't know.
Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, 1 objective. They're in progress, 50%. Corporation for Public Broadcasting, 1 objective, 50%.
Dude, look, do you remember watching some of these like reels and stuff where it have like 50 news anchors that are all reciting the same shit?
Exact same thing.
I hope there's something in there that'll get rid of that. You know, like I don't know, but like it'd be nice if we could have some news that wasn't funded by the government or it wasn't funded by a big industry like medical or insurance or something like that, that had their own agenda that they needed to be pushed, because you'll never hear anybody say anything negative about you can't bite the hand that feeds you, right? You know, like, so I'm waiting on RFK, to get behind some of this stuff. But anyway, I'm not, this whole Project 2025 thing, I'm not saying it's all inherently bad, adverb.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is like, I'd like some transparency. I don't hate Trump. I don't hate most people that are presidents, but I like transparency. I don't like to be lied to. I don't like for our intelligence to be like insulted. Mm-hmm. So I like to be communicated with, and I feel like that is not asking for too much. I think that's being fair as a citizen. And I'm sure I'm not alone. God, I hope I'm not alone. Like, we just want a little bit of communication, like just explain yourself, as to what you're doing. And I don't want to like just beat that dead dog to death, but that don't even that's oxymoronic. But
you don't want to beat a dead horse.
Yeah, you don't want to beat a dead horse. Beating a dead dog's not even fair.
Well, neither is beating a dead horse, but
some of them sons of bitches is mean.
It's dead.
Yeah. Probably got bad spirits and omens and shit.
Oh, okay.
The wild horses out in Arizona and stuff, like, you run across one of those is dead. Probably, you're probably gonna get haunted.
And now he's superstitious.
Supernatural. But
No, but if you wanted to look at any of the Project 2025 stuff, like I said, it's Project 2025 tracker. If you Google that, it'll pull it up. It's got all of it.
I wonder who put this website together. We don't know, do we?
I bet you I can find out down here.
Like who it's funded by or whatever.
Wow.
I like the way it says support transparency at the bottom of that page. I'm sure this is Democratic because like they told us it was going to happen. Like I've had conversations with like extreme liberals, and they're like, "Wait, as soon as Trump gets in, all this 2025 stuff is going to start happening that he claims he don't support and he claims he don't know anything about." And I don't have a leg to stand on except for the fact that I didn't vote.
Okay, so it says Project 2025 Tracker began as a humble spreadsheet created by, and it looks like this is a Reddit tag, user Rustic Gorilla combined with Molly in Aquafina vision for making this information accessible to everyone through a dedicated website. What started as a passion project by two Redditors has grown into a community-driven resource powered by people like you who believe in the importance of transparent, detailed analysis.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to I'm going to add both of those people on to Reddit.
I've still got Reddit.
You still got Reddit?
Yeah.
I don't have it on my phone anymore. But yeah, we'll have to add both of those people on Reddit and see if we can figure out like anything else about those individuals. But it'd be kind of cool to actually talk to them. If we can get them
and
on.
they've even got it like broke down. There's a visualize tab, and it'll show the exact dates when this stuff occurred for each one of these objectives.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with that as long as like it checks. Like if you can go back and double check their work there, and I'm sure if you're putting this much work into it, it's probably accurate.
Yeah, and it's appreciated because this like really helped. Even without the visualize tab, like going and just looking at the main categories and departments and seeing the percentage complete on them and going, man, that's a lot of stuff there to not be following this.
Scary thing is I just feel like a lot of people just asleep behind the wheel, man. You know, like they're just, even when, we were talking to our buddy yesterday, we were running into him at Walmart while we were grocery shopping, and I was asking him, like, because he was like, my TV stays on Fox News. Okay, like, all right, well, tell me about this Great Britain stuff. He's like, I ain't heard anything about it.
What are you talking about, Great Britain?
And I was like, well, like Trump talking about joining Great Britain, because that's really all I knew about it.
That's all we'd seen is like, we're going back to being part of England.
He lifted a finger up, acted like he was drinking some tea, said, "Long live the Queen." So it's like, is that how you really feel about it, or like, do you just support everything that dude's doing?
Right, and that's dangerous too.
Yeah, man. No
context, just okay. Whatever he says, I'm good with.
I'm all about keeping my people in check. If I've got a political person that I'm behind, like if they say something stupid, or say something, it might not be stupid to the masses, but if it doesn't make sense to me, I kind of want to know what they mean by it, But like really, nobody that I've ever really fallen behind 100% had a chance at the White House. But like Dr. Ben Carson, I was a big fan of him. Before that, it was Ron Paul. I bet I voted for Ron Paul.
Ron or Rand?
Ron, his dad. I got no problem with Rand. He's a Tea Party type of dude.
Yeah.
Ron Paul would jump around from Democrat to Republican just trying to get in where he could. It kind of reminds you of a Ross Perot in a way, but he had lots and lots and lots of good ideas. But like,
just couldn't get the following.
No, man, he couldn't get a following. He was a great third party candidate in a 2-party system.
Yeah, which is another thing that needs to go away.
Yeah,
it's the 2-party crap,
and it never will unless it starts on the state level. As long as we're putting Democrats and Republicans in Washington to represent us, that's the only presidents we'll ever see.
Because that's the only ones they're ever going to give the electoral votes to.
Yeah, the electoral votes is going to have to go to one of those. It's not like if they come in and got the like 51% of a vote or whatever, like even if they got in the White House, they would never get anything done because the 2-party system that's working together, and I do believe they are working together, they don't want a third party to deal with.
Yeah, because then they got to figure out how they're going to scratch that person's back.
So if you ever want a third party system, you got to start putting people in Washington to represent your state that come from a third party. Whether it be the Green Party, the Tea Party.
And rarely around here do you even see that.
Yeah,
like there's not even third parties that run most of the time.
I haven't seen a libertarian on
a local level.
On a local level. And that's where it can't stop. That change can't start at the top and work its way down. It has to start in Washington. You know, like, and what I mean by that is your state representatives that you send to Washington.
Right, which would be what we consider our local elections.
Yeah, that's local elections,
Yeah.
yeah.
Local and state elections. And you rarely see that third party stuff.
Even our governors.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. People who vote for you, you know, with your interest in mind.
Those representatives, state representatives, all of it.
All of them, man. Yeah, like that. We have to get third party people into those seats before we can actually change it at the presidential level.
Right.
If you had 30% of the Congress that was libertarian, you got a chance of getting a libertarian president in office, and that can actually do something. You know, like that would be the scariest thing about like Ross Perot if he actually won, is he gets in there.
Be a stalemate.
And everybody's his enemy, potentially. Not because his ideas were bad, because they don't want to deal with it.
And we see that all the time. Like a Democrat will say one thing and want to push a specific idea. None of the Republicans will get on board with them. They're complaining about it. 4 or 8 years later, a Republican gets in, says the exact same shit.
Yeah, and
all the Democrats don't like it no more, and the Republicans are voting for it.
I've got an example.
Go ahead.
You know, I don't know anybody that wouldn't want to push for congressional term limits. Mm-hmm. It's been brought up, and it's been shot down by Congress so many times. Right. You know, like because like it requires 75% of the votes. Rarely,
and it requires 75% of the votes from the people
that they're paying.
That their paycheck is going to be affected.
Yeah. And it's not the check they're concerned about. I'll go ahead and tell you, if they're making $150,000 a year and they're worth $50 million,
yeah,
they're not getting their money from their paycheck. No. They're getting their money from the bureaucracy.
But I mean, it's still coming from having that position.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's still their paycheck.
If they don't have the power, they're not going to have a paycheck. So you're absolutely right about that. So that's like you got that. Well, how about the people that are burning Teslas right now? You know, these were left liberals that were so concerned about the environment that they were wanting everybody in an electric car just a couple of years ago. Just a couple of years ago, we couldn't hear enough of it. And I do firmly believe that we should do something about the environment. If you know, like do everything we possibly can to keep the environment in check. You know, like just so
we have a place to live and breathe.
And our grandkids do too, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is they would push this agenda so hard, and then Elon Musk is doing his thing on Doge, and now they're burning Teslas. And I'm like, what do you think? What do you think that's doing to the environment? One, you're taking an electric car out of
pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of pocket. So, like, it can't be driven to reduce fuel waste.
And now you've got a big ass battery that they have nowhere to put.
Yeah.
That's got to sit somewhere.
Yeah, a huge battery, and you got a fire.
That's putting out a bunch of chemicals.
Yeah, it's probably. I'd love to see the math on that. Like, how much damage does one Tesla fire do to the environment versus one car driving down the road? Like, if like that car could drive down the road for 2 years and not put out the same emissions as one Tesla fire, I believe in environmental health so much that I would say that you need to give the person that set that Tesla on fire like a prison sentence.
Right.
Like, get them off the streets. They're a danger to the environment. So, like, you got people that jump ship all the time. Being the pro-war and go ahead.
I was going to say another example. Sorry, y'all. Is the deporting illegal immigrants.
Barack Obama was the deporter.
Yeah, he said almost the exact words about if they come over here illegally, they need to be deported. Will we make a way for them to come in legally and make it accessible? Yes, but if they're here illegally, they're not working towards legal citizenship, then they've got to go.
Yeah, if they commit a crime, they got to go. Whatever.
And it's the exact same thing.
It's the same people. People.
And now Democrats are like, he don't like diversity. He don't like culture. He's just wanting them all. It's the same shit y'all are supporting. It's with a different person saying
it's kind of like the vaccines.
Yeah.
They were all against that vaccine when Trump was, like when Trump got that vaccine, supposedly, he got the vaccine for COVID. And you had liberals telling us, don't take that vaccine, y'all. Like, I know y'all are like voted for Trump or whatever, but like, don't take that vaccine. It's trying to kill you. Like, we're going to put a chip in you or whatever. It was conspiracy theory level shit, but we weren't taking the vaccine anyway. And not if we could get away with it. Right.
Right.
But like, let Biden get in and start endorsing that vaccine. And if you don't get one, then
you're evil and you're trying to kill everybody around you.
The same people that were anti-vax. You know, it was like that video we were watching earlier that had the liberal on there that were like, we need to mandate regenerative farming. That's something that Republicans get on board with now. You know, we need to mandate non-GMO foods. That's something that Republicans get on board with now. A lot of Republicans nowadays are ex-Democrats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And even if we're not ex-Democrats, we see the value in your idea.
Yeah.
We bought into your ideology, and now you turn your back on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to agree with anything that we have to say.
Right. Yeah.
I say we because I do lean right, but I do consider myself center.
Yeah. And we do episodes about foraging for mushrooms, and it's going to be like
That's some
other
hippie
wild
shit,
edibles and
man.
stuff. And yeah, that's very, very much Democratic.
That's some pagan. She's into some pagan, shit, and she's very Republican.
So it's it's not like we can't see a benefit in it. It's that stuff has gone so far away from any type of norm that it's hard to back much of anything that's said in the party right now.
Yeah, man. To sum it up, and I'm not trying to beat up all liberals and all Democrats or anything, but it's like somebody said it best the other day. They said it was like it's the new party of constant controversy.
Yeah.
You know,
they have to have something going on.
They constantly have to have something going on, but like even their good ideas, they'll turn their back on
and say it's a bad idea when it comes
supporting it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Republicans started becoming anti-war, when we started getting our troops back home, all that stuff. Like when like Donald Trump, you can say whatever you like, like whatever you want to about him, but like he don't mind going to talk to Lewinsky, and he don't mind talking to the people in
Zelensky,
Zelensky, and then what's the guy's name? And
Putin.
Yeah, he'll talk to Putin. He ain't afraid to talk to any of these people to try to keep peace. That's a Democratic ideology. If you just go back 10 years.
Yeah, like when we were born, like Republicans were warmongers.
Warmongers, man. Dick Cheney and George Bush, warmongers. That's not the party we are anymore. Like, then they still shit on us.
Mm-hmm.
I say us because I do lean right. But yeah, man, sorry, y'all. We had a phone call. We had to take it. Listen, I'm not sure exactly where it cut off at. So we're just going to like bring this thing to an end. But if anybody would like to continue this conversation, whether you be liberal and you want to explain your stances, because I know there are some extremely smart liberals out there. I can think of a lot of them that are friends of mine. But like if you're conservative, if you got any concerns about the Project 2025, if you got any explanations about the 2025 or the Project 2025, if you want to talk about the Department of Education, if you want to talk about whatever, send us an email at opexchangepod@gmail.com, or if you have us on social media, we do have the TikTok. It goes by the same name,
Operation Exchange.
We don't have a lot of followers over there, but Courtney manages that account. So
and I don't do a lot of TikToks.
And she don't do a lot of TikToks. So I might have to take it over and go viral for her a couple of times. But no, seriously, if you guys want to come over and talk, you're more than welcome to. We invite you. And we will respect you. But like, if we could get to the bottom of like all this division, like we do have a lot of division, and I think it is media like pushed. I believe there's a lot of gaslighting and a lot of brainwashing going on both sides.
Yeah.
You got two very different cults, and whatever those leaders, those cults say is the gospel.
They've got millions of followers.
Yeah. And there's no questioning it. And that's a very dangerous place for citizens to be. And it's a very dangerous position for citizens to give leadership. Remember, those guys work for you. It's not the other way around. Like they're supposed to be servicing you.
And secretive moves that are done in the dark is exactly what has led to a lot of terrible things in history.
It led to the Nazi Party. I'm not even sure you can say that. Like we might be blackballed. I don't. At this point, I really don't care. I'm just saying, like that's what led to, like I'm sure everything that came out of Adolf Hitler's mouth wasn't terrible until he started killing Jews.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
So,
it didn't start off
just,
as a genocide. You know, like
just
so
following blindly is dangerous.
following blindly is dangerous. It's good to always have an open mind and open eyes whenever you got political stuff going on. It's good to demand answers, in my opinion, because if you don't, they just get in there and think that they rule the world, and you can't give them that power.
And where we are,
that's kind of where we're
literal. Like,
yeah,
what we're doing is affecting a lot of the world.
Yeah,
it's not just the U.S. We are the main country that a lot of other countries depend on, and their economies follow ours. And
yeah,
it's there's a lot at stake for more than just us.
I heard Rogan say the other day, if you're an American and you own, like, if you make $35,000 a year, then you're in the top 1% earners in the entire world. That's weird.
That's scary.
It's scary. It's very scary because, I mean, that's not even like a living wage, really.
But, I can believe that just from being in the role that I am. Like, every school in Tennessee, there is a income form at registration every year. And you'd be surprised at how many 5, 6-member families making less than $20,000 a year. Like, it is scary.
Yeah, that is scary. That's scary. But I guess exit. You guys have a good one. Thanks for listening. And Mushroom Monday, we realized we dropped the ball on that
last week. Yeah,
we dropped the ball on it. But honey mushroom's coming up tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, you guys have a good one. We'll catch you next time.